Hello and welcome everyone. Today in this video I wanted to talk about how to study, the approach to the learning process. So, have you ever wondered how your curriculum is developed? Hmm? Why textbooks are written with definitions, classification and facts at the beginning chapters and more detailed information as you progress through the book? There must be a reason for that, right? What they use for that is called the Bloom's taxonomy. And I'm going to be talking about how it can be utilized in our learning process. So, the Bloom's taxonomy was designed for classifying learning objectives to help teachers and administrators formulate the curriculum and syllabus for educational institutions. It consists of three components: the cognitive domain or knowledge based domain, the emotional domain or the affective domain, and the psychomotor domain. The cognitive or knowledge domain is what I will be focusing on, as it is what pertains to our learning process. The Bloom's taxonomy is the best studying technique I know, as it incorporates all other techniques you could use to learn. It consists of 6 levels. First is memorization, second is understand, third is apply, fourth is analyze, fifth is evaluate, and sixth is create. We'll start going level by level. First is memorization. I think you would be really familiar with this term. During our school days, teachers would ask us to memorize our subjects, and memorization is the process of committing to our memory various information or facts so that we can recall it whenever we need the information. When we first study the data subjects, it is stored in the short term memory. We would not remember anything we read after a few days. So, in order to retain information, we have to go back to the source and read it again and again. Many people try to force themselves to memorize fast by rapidly reading a small portion again and again, or even try vocalizing it again and again in order for it to get registered or recorded in their brain. There are many techniques to actively memorize information, some of which you might be familiar with, such as using mnemonics, memory palaces, chunking, flashcards. And the best practice is to use active recall and space repetition for us to remember facts and data so that it can be used in other aspects of learning. That brings me to my second point, which is understanding. Based on your familiarity with the subjects, after memorization of the basic facts, information, or during memorization, you will start understanding the subjects more. You will start to remember the information in your own way, and at this junction, you will be able to explain the information to others. You could talk about the information in your own words or language, and you could discuss about the subjects freely. The best way to learn using this level is having discussion with your peers about the subject and trying to find out how they have understood the subject also. This will help you to learn the subject easier and faster. So the first two levels, that is memorization and second, the understanding, are the basic steps in the learning process. They are called the lower order of learning. Many people get stuck here, and for all intents and purposes, this might be enough to get marks. But these information are short term, and when you are stuck at this level of learning, what you study for a test, you will have to start again when you are studying for a, let's say, another test in 2 3 months, or when you are studying for the final exam. Everything will seem foreign to you, and once your exams are over, you can feel that you won't remember any of the data. The third level is apply. In this level, you start to see and use what you know in real life. You start applying your knowledge to solve problems, and as you do that, your understanding becomes deeper. This The way for learning by applying depends on the subject you are trying to learn. In, let's say, for in mathematics, you study by applying majority of the time. You will have to solve problems again and again. You will have to use your information, which is in the formulas, and you'll be applying it again and again. And as you apply it again and again, you tend to retain much of what you learn. It is also true for other subjects, especially in science subjects. In medical field, you use it to come to diagnosis. You use it to interpret lab investigations by answering clinical based questions, etc. The best way to learn using this level is solving problems. You can start by framing your own questions, trying to answer it in a week's time or so. You could quiz each other and find areas where you can use your knowledge practically. The fourth level is to learn by analyzing. As you apply what you know in real scenarios, you are forced to compare various pieces of information. When you study a single topic, it is easy to forget, but when you compare the topic to other topics, your knowledge will increase, and also you will be able to retain more information for longer amounts of time. You will start making associations and be able to find pros and cons of the topics. For example, you might have felt it was easier when you make a table of differences between two related topics. You will remember it for much longer time. The best way to utilize this level is again by solving problems and forming mind maps between topics. You can analyze the data by comparing the topics, and by remembering one topic, you are able to remember a related topic. The next level of learning is to evaluate. After analyzing the data, by comparing and associating different concepts, we start to evaluate. We start to see which piece of information is important in a particular concept. Our mind starts applying value to it. When questions or problems are presented to you, you will be able to formulate results based on what you remember from the level 1, which is memorization. Next, you move on to level 2, your understanding, and you start to apply it to the particular problem, and you start analyzing it, and finally evaluate. You can know for sure that you have arrived at the right result. The sixth level of learning is to create. When you have learned up to this point, you can by yourself start creating information. You can start to hypothesize, you can start to theorize new data, you will start to create fresh ideas. This level of learning is not needed when you are preparing for your exams. This level is most usually used in academic purposes for doing research. Like, let's say you're doing your dissertation for your postgraduate time, you will need to create, you will need to use this level of learning. So, to summarize, the learning process starts with memorization, then you move on to understanding, you apply the concepts, you analyze, and compare concepts. You start to form association between concepts. Then you evaluate and find out what is the right concept which fits your problem. And finally, you start to create your own information. I'll give a couple of examples. Let's say you are learning a new language. You start by memorizing words. You will start to pronounce them. You might not know the meaning behind them, but you will start to pronounce them. You will memorize the words. Then you start to understand what the word means, and you start to apply it when you are speaking with a particular person. And then you come to know that many different words can give the same meaning. You start to analyze which particular uh, word is right for the situation. You evaluate and you decide which word is right for the situation, and you start using it. And finally, if you want to create, if you become proficient, if you become a pandit, you can start writing your own books. Another example I can give you is, let's say you are preparing for a science subject. You are learning about evaporation. So you start by memorizing the definition of evaporation. You start to learn what it is. Then you understand what it is, what it means. You see salt fields, you see fogging in a bottle you kept outside, and you start to realize this is what evaporation is. And you start to apply it by forming crystals after dissolving salt or something like that. And then you get to know about boiling, which gives the same result. Water turns into steam. And you start to analyze which is better for each situation, and you try to evaluate. Let's say evaporation is needed for forming clouds and for rain to form. It is necessary in salt mines and all. And you find that boiling is most probably used for making coffee. And so finally, everything upwards from that is apply, analyze, evaluate, and create, are called higher order of learning. When you start to learn with these steps in mind, learning becomes easier and faster. If your uh, if your reason for learning is to apply it in a particular area, if you are learning to analyze it, if you are learning to evaluate the data, you will find it much easier. Let's say you are preparing for a seminar. You will find it that it is much easier to retain the information if you uh, start on the seminar a week prior to your presentation. So hope that you understood all this topic, and hope this can help you in your learning journey. Thank you. Bye.